Hello everyone, bachphotography here, back with another video, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at a behind the scenes photo shoot I used a 35mm lens with and my Sony a7R II. So the lens I used was a Sigma 35mm f1.4, and we pretty much used this lens for the entire photo shoot. We're going to have a look at the location I picked. We're also going to have a look at what Rhiannon's wearing and why we chose that particular outfit. We'll also talk about the lighting placement, so where we placed the sun and how I positioned myself so that we could get really nice lighting in this particular situation, because the lighting was quite harsh at the time of day we were shooting here. And then finally, we're going to jump into Photoshop and have a look at how I edited some of these photos as well. And I'm going to leave a link in the description to all the raw files from this photo shoot, so you can edit along at the end if you would like, or you can just edit them in your own time. There's also going to be a link to all of the camera equipment I used in this photo shoot as well. So here we are at a little cafe by a pier at the beach, and I really liked shooting at this cafe because I really liked the color, the yellow color of the wooden slats on the building. And because we were shooting at the beach, there was lots of yellow colors. We were shooting in the afternoon as well, so it was nice warm yellow light coming from the sun as well. And it really complemented Rhiannon's blue dress here as well. And we chose a blue dress because we're shooting at the beach and the water was nice and blue. So we thought that the blue dress would really complement that as well, and also just make Rhiannon kind of fit in with the scene and make everything, all the colors match together. But we decided to move from this area pretty quickly actually, because the wind was really getting in the way of us shooting. And you can see here that Rhiannon's hair kept flying into her face because we were facing in the wrong direction for the wind. So we got a few shots facing the other direction, and then we moved on to the next area of the photo shoot. So before we move on to the next area, let's have a look at a few of the photos from this part of the photo shoot. So let me know which photo you think was the best in the comments, and now let's move on to the next location, which I think was my favorite location for this photo shoot, and that is this little shaded area here on the pier. And I really like this location because we were able to use the position of the sun to our advantage and the position of this little area to our advantage, and hide the sun in an area where the light was still streaming through the gap that you can see to the right of Rhiannon, but without it going directly onto the camera's sensor and causing a really low contrast image, because when you shoot into the sun, you're going to get a really low contrast image. So to get rid of that problem, we made the sun hidden, or at least the most powerful part of the sun hidden, and then we're just getting the rays of light coming around our subject Rhiannon, and also being covered from the pillar on this covering area here. And you can see here, depending on where we position ourselves in terms of where the sun is, we can get a really high contrast image, or we can get a really low contrast image, depending on whether the sun is shooting its rays of light directly into the camera. So as I move around here a little bit, you can see that there's a perfect position where we're getting beautiful rays of light coming from the sun, but not too much of an overpowering brightness that we're getting a really low contrast in our image. So now let's have a look at a few photos from this area in the photo shoot, which was my favorite location of the entire day. So let me know which photo of those ones is your favorite, and hit that like button if you're still here and you haven't already. So I'm going to be talking about this photo in particular in depth, and I'm just going to talk about the lighting a little bit and the composition, and a bit about why I like this photo and why I did the framing, composition, lighting, and all that stuff that I did to take this photo as well. The first thing I want to say about this photo is that it's quite edited, and you can't really expect to get this warm of a color balance when you're shooting during golden hour or a couple of hours before golden hour, unless you're manually setting your color balance, which is something you don't have to do if you're shooting in RAW. So just keep that in mind when you're shooting your own photos, and if you stick around to the end, you'll see the color balance of this photo before it's been edited and all the changes that we make during that process to get it to the final image, which is this one right here. So I really like this image because we're seeing a few really interesting lighting aberrations that are happening in this photo. So the first one is that we're getting all of this flare to the right of Rhiannon. You can see a green circle, and then you can see some rainbow colors as well, a little bit higher up as well. And then you can also see some light leaking from the corner of the image, which kind of just makes the whole image feel a bit warmer and a bit more bright and summery and happy. I really like the skin tones in this image, and I really like how the dress is a complement to the yellow color of the light and also of the wooden boards that this little building makes. I think it's framed reasonably well, although I would have liked to have the feet in there, but that's okay. Sometimes you can't have everything, and I think that we're nice and close, and when you're shooting on a 35mm, shooting up nice and close really draws you to the image and makes you feel like you're there. I really like the posing of this image too, because we've got some nice eye contact here. We can see the jawline that Rhiannon has here because her head is slightly tilted, and that is always an aesthetically pleasing pose. And just overall, I think the pose works really well with this composition, and it's framed nicely in the photo as well. One thing we had to work around in this photo shoot area was this corrugated iron curb that you can see here, and that made composition a little bit more tricky when shooting in this area, because we kind of had to keep that out of the frame because it didn't really suit the image that well. It kind of looked a little bit out of place, so that was one of the limitations that we had for this area. So now let's have a look at the next area that we did some shooting, which was my second favorite area of the entire photo shoot. So before we get into this part of the photo shoot, I still have a few spots left for my coaching program. If you're looking at taking your photography business to the next level, or you're looking at some one-on-one coaching to improve your photography or to get more business in your photography business, I have a few spots open left. Link in the description. We're going to go through all of your photography, and we can dissect it and work out how to make it better. We can go through your website, we can work out SEO strategies, see how you can get more clients, how you can price yourself properly, and how to be successful as a photographer and a photography business owner. So once again, link in the description, and now let's get back to the photo shoot. Here we are on a walkway which is just underneath the pier basically, or it's kind of still part of the pier, but it's underneath a little bit. And the reason we're shooting here is because we're trying to avoid the sun a little bit, and we're trying to find an area that's really nice and shaded so we can get a really soft and even light across the entire photo. But not only that, we still have some really nice backlight from the sun in the background, and that is still filling out the scene, but it's not adding a lot of harsh highlights or shadows. It's just kind of adding a glow to the back of Rhiannon here. Stairs are also a really nice prop because you can do a lot with them with posing, and they can also add some leading lines to your scene as well. So that basically explains what we were doing at this part of the photo shoot. Now let's have a look at a couple of photos from this area, and then we'll move on to the next area. So we found this area under a shaded tree, and I thought it would be a really great place to do some photos because you can use branches of trees and things like that to frame your composition, but also all the leaves normally provide really nice shade, but you can still see some speckly light coming from the sun. But honestly, we really couldn't get this area to work, and I didn't really get any good photos, so we decided to move on pretty quickly from this area. And that's totally fine. Sometimes you're going to find a part of your photo shoot that just didn't really work out very well. It's totally okay to move on to the next place and see if you can find something better. So here we are at the last area of the photo shoot, and you can see that the sun is just setting now behind those bushes and behind the horizon. This was a really nice final place because we were able to get some really nice photos with the sun coming through those bushes and getting a nice even lighting through the entire photo. So that's everything basically that we did for the photo shoot. In a minute, we're going to go through and have a look at how I edited one of these photos as well. Before I do, a quick tip I would say is you should at least try to find 4 or 5 different spots whenever you're doing a photo shoot, because you never know what's going to work and what isn't going to work. So if you only shoot in, let's say, one place or maybe 2 places, you might actually just find 2 not so good places to take some photos and miss out on all these other places that you could have found and got amazing portraits with. So just make sure that when you're going on your photo shoots next, shoot at 4 or 5 or even more places if you can. So now let's hop into Photoshop. Here I am in Camera Raw, which is an inbuilt Photoshop plugin when you shoot in RAW. The first thing I want to do is boost the clarity up really high, and that's pretty much because I'm getting a lot of light from the sun hitting the camera straight on, which means I'm going to be getting a lot less contrast, and clarity is just mid-tone contrast. I'm going to boost up these shadows and also the vibrance a little bit to get a little bit more color. And I'm going to drop the highlights just a little bit as well to kind of get some of those really high-end brightnesses down a little bit. We're going to add some overall contrast as well, and then just play around with the vibrance a little bit until we get a nice skin tone. And I think that looks about correct. So the next thing we're going to do here is just going to smooth some of the skin. And I'm using a new technique here where not only am I reducing the clarity in parts of the skin that I don't want to have detail, I'm also removing the sharpness as well. So I'm just putting the blacks and the exposure all the way down to the bottom so I can see exactly where I'm selecting, and then I'm outlining here, I'm masking all of the areas that I want to make smooth. I'm making sure not to go over any hard lines that I want to stay sharp, like the outline of her leg, her hands, the outline of her hands, the outline of her fingers, that kind of thing, and also facial features as well. So that includes your nose outline, your eyes, eyebrows, that sort of thing, because those are things that we want to preserve the detail in, because it will look kind of weird and soft if we remove those details. So what I'm doing here is only smoothing parts of her body, which I think will benefit from smoothing, whereas keeping the sharp parts that we really want to have in focus and draw attention, keeping those parts nice and sharp and full of detail as well. So here we're just going over the face. So we're doing the cheeks, we're doing the chin, the forehead, and we're also going to do the bridge of Rhiannon's nose as well. And this is a bit of a rough tool. It's not something that you would do if you're doing, let's say, fashion photography for a big company and you wanted to get everything perfect. But if you want to do like a quick 5-minute skin smoothing, this is the perfect technique for that. So that's pretty much everything we need to highlight. The next thing we're going to do basically is just zoom out and make sure we've checked everything and got all the right places. We remove the blacks and the exposure, and then we mess around with the sharpness and with the clarity. And just make sure that you don't go too far with it, otherwise the skin starts looking strange. But just get it into a nice sort of sweet spot where you have smooth skin, but skin that still retains a little bit of detail. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is just reset our brush tool here, and then we're going to add a little bit of contrast and some more deep shadows and higher highlights, some sharpness and a bit more clarity to the hair. And that's just basically to emphasize the different highlights and shadows Rhiannon has in her hair. As you can see, she's got some browns in her hair and some blonde as well. So it's just making that look a little bit more bold and easier to see the difference in colors in her hair. So now that we've done that, we're just going to reset the brush tool, and we're going to make parts of her face that we would like to draw attention to more prominent. So we're adding some clarity, and we're going to also add darkness to the shadows, and we're also going to improve the brightness of the highlights, and then just paint a little bit more contrast, I guess you could say, into the eyes, into the lips as well. And then we're also going to do a couple other places. We're going to do the eyebrows as well, just to sort of frame the face and frame the eyes a little bit more. And then also we're going to do the nostrils as well. And basically all that does is make those parts of the image more attention drawing, and it draws focus as the viewer into those parts of the image. And all these changes are really small and subtle, but once you add them all together, it makes a really big difference. Okay, so that's everything we've done there for Camera Raw. And Camera Raw comes up if you shoot in RAW. So if you're shooting in JPEG, you won't see that, but you can always go into Filter and then Camera Raw Filter to open that plugin. So one thing I found after shooting were these ice cream cups that were really distracting from the image. So I'm just going to do a quick time lapse of me removing them. Basically, we're just going to be using the patch tool, and then we're going to be copy and pasting little parts of the scene that we think look similar, and sort of dragging them over and then blending them with the patch tool and also with the eraser tool on a really soft setting. So I'll see you in a second when I fast forward this and we have a rough estimate of something looking like the ice cream cups not being there. Okay, so there we go without any ice cream cups in the bottom of the image. It took a little bit of time. It would have been much better if we'd gotten rid of that before we did any photos. So now I'm just going to use the patch tool here to remove any bruises that Rhiannon has on her legs. From a previous photo shoot, we got walking on some rocks, and we both got pretty bruised up actually, just kind of walking around, stumbling around, and that kind of thing. So there are a few bruises here just to remove. So I'm going to fast forward any patch tool stuff just because you've probably seen it all before and it can just be a little bit boring. So I'll see you in a second. Okay, so that is actually everything for this photo, and I really hope you like it. Let me know what you think of it in the comments and of the other ones, and which one is your favorite of all these photos from this photo shoot. I'm looking forward to seeing how you guys edited this as well, and remember, as always, there are a link in the description to the raw files from this photo shoot, and send it to me on Instagram after you've edited it. I'd love to see what you did with the images. Once again, if you are looking at one-on-one coaching services, either to improve your photography quickly or to quickly get your business in a place where it's successful and you're getting lots of clients, I still have a few spots available where we can work out a plan of action together on how you can get where you want to be with your photography. So that is everything for me this time. Thank you very much for watching once again. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.